Now I would like to introduce Jo Saunders. Jo is a LinkedIn strategist and educator who shows leaders and teams how to increase visibility, amplify authority, and earn influence using LinkedIn and social marketing tools. So please put your hands together to welcome Jo Saunders.
Thank you very much, Mairead. So we talked about personal branding and we've talked about company branding, and now we're going to talk about, like I said, the wider picture about what you're doing, because if you think about how we connect, people connect to people. So people, you want to connect to a company page, and company pages definitely have a place, as Gillian's just gone through, but how do you connect and what do you do? So I'm going to go through my 5 V's of connection. So it's all about visibility. I mean, if you don't have visibility on LinkedIn, you're not going to be seen, you're not going to be found. Now, who here actually finds people within LinkedIn? Who here actually looks in Google? Because everybody uses Google, don't they? I mean, or Bing, or does anybody use Bing? No. Yeah, exactly, what's Bing? I mean, there are other search engines. But point is, if you Google yourself, actually just a quick pop quiz, who has Googled themselves in the last 6 months? Awesome. Now, there's an effective way to do it. It's called incognito searching. Do that. If you don't know how, I'll show you, or ask me about it. But the point of that is you can optimize your name search, and LinkedIn is a very powerful way to do that. So Carly's talked about things you can do with your profile, but often you're looking for the person, not necessarily the company, particularly if you're in small business or you're a consultant, because people are referring people. Does that make sense? So you want visibility in Google, you want visibility in LinkedIn. But to be visible, you've got to think about, well, how am I going to do that? So content, optimizing your profile, using your company page, and using content. So one of the ways is thinking about how you share your value. Now, if you think about when you're posting, now hopefully this content's going to trigger some questions too, so get your questions ready. So it's not about the volume, or it's about the value. So rather than posting, and you might have heard people talk about this, posting, say, 10 times a day on LinkedIn, and this applies to company and profile, but particularly profile, that's a lot of noise, and it's a very noisy place. So you want to think about, how can I add value to my network? What can I share? What stories can I tell? Because we connect through storytelling, don't we? If you're sharing facts, that's interesting, but if you can add a story to that, then you've got a different level of engagement. And the way you write about it, so you've got to think, are you just dumping content on LinkedIn? Or are you, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but are you actually inviting engagement? So are you asking the question? Are you making a bold statement? Are you starting with a question or ending with a question? Because if there's no question there, you're not actually, it sounds obvious, but there's no engagement required. Is it oh, that's nice, like? Because you want people to comment, not like or react, because reacting's nice, and that's easy, but you want to start a conversation, because that's what social media is all about. So think value, not volume. Now the other V is voice, because you want to find your voice. Now who here is a little bit scared of LinkedIn, as in putting yourself out there? Awesome, and it takes courage to admit that, because it takes a while as an individual to find out, well, what is your voice? Now, you might be comfortable on Facebook. You might be comfortable ranting on Twitter. You might have your thing on Instagram because it's all very visual. But on LinkedIn, it's your professional network. So you want to think about everything you post on LinkedIn as part of your brand. So how can you share your professional brand on LinkedIn, still have personality, but still be, so this, personality professional without being Facebook-esque. And you've probably seen a lot of content that is very Facebook-esque of late. And whether it should be there, that's one of the things we'll talk about in the panel. But you want people to get to know you. You want it to be so that when we meet in person, so there's many people here that have come along, I've not met in person, but I know you from LinkedIn. I know it because we've had interactions. See, and you want it to be a continuation. So if I've met you in person, when I see your content on LinkedIn, I want to continue it so that we're on the journey. Does that make sense? So you want to think about how you articulate your voice. The other one is, now, I've talked about value, like valuable content, but what are your personal values? What is your vision? So your values kind of ground you. Your vision is where you're going. And why this is important on LinkedIn is everything you do on LinkedIn should be tied into that, so that your personal brand, your company brand, it's all part of that model. And you want to make it clear so people understand you. What's important to you? What's important to your purpose? Where are you going? Because if you're very much in the now, you're almost reacting to stuff, reacting to things in the moment. And there is a call for some of that sort of content. So LinkedIn changes fast. Gillian talked about that change to company pages. Like, we notice these minute little details. We notice things being tested on us. We're guinea pigs. And we'll talk about them. So some of my content is very reactionary because I'm at the I suppose, mercy of LinkedIn, because they don't necessarily announce all these updates, even to people that specialize in their platform and are their biggest ambassadors. That's a whole other story. That's a whole other presentation. But you want to make sure that you are clear, where your vision is. And the final one, power of vulnerability. Now, I don't talk about this a lot, but I thought it's really important to bring it forward because when you're vulnerable, and I don't mean in a negative, woe is me, I'm having a bad day kind of vulnerable, but just being real, that's the kind of content that works on LinkedIn because you want to work out where your boundary is. And you might be a little bit more vulnerable on Facebook because it's a very a tighter network, we'll say. But with LinkedIn, how can you be vulnerable, show yourself, show your brand in a very professional way? And if you can do that, that's when people will connect to you. Does that make sense? So